একজন অন্তত বলো।
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
আচ্ছা, sorry for the delay. As we said, we'll start with determination of equilibrium income and output. Just a recap, you already know about it. We know that part of the aggregate demand is autonomous. By autonomous, we mean it does not depend on the level of income. So we have a part which is autonomous and a part where aggregate demand also depends on the level of income. We have already done about talked about the consumption function, which is dependent on the level of income. So we have a aggregate demand curve like this. Here we just have this consumption function whose slope is C, or marginal propensity to consume. To that we add the autonomous expenditures or spendings to get the aggregate demand curve. AD is equal to A bar. A bar is, we have clubbed together all the autonomous parts of the expenditure, and we have C into Y, the part dependent on the level of income. Now, the aggregate demand schedule is obtained by adding vertically the demands for consumption, investment, government spending, and net exports at each level of income. At the income level Y0, we have aggregate demand AD0. See, this is our equilibrium income. We have taken help of the 45 on the indicates the x values and y values are the same. So here this is our point of equilibrium where the y value, which is x value, which is the level of income or output, exactly matches the aggregate demand. So we have the equilibrium at that point. We find that if the income level is greater than Y0, what will happen? There our output is greater than aggregate demand. So there is an accumulating stock of inventories. Producers will want to reduce that inventory, and we will ultimately move towards E, because producers will cut down on the cut down on production. On the other hand, if we take any income level below Y0, we find aggregate demand is greater than supply or income or output. That implies that the stock of inventories are depleting. So the producers will increase the level of output. So we will move towards the equilibrium E. So if for any income level below Y0, we move towards this equilibrium income level, and for any income level greater than Y0, we have what a tendency for income to fall back to Y0. So this is how we get the equilibrium income and output. We have already talked about why we use income and output interchangeably in our previous classes. Now, the equilibrium condition in the goods market is obtained when output is equal to aggregate demand. So Here, Y is equal to AD or aggregate demand. Now, aggregate demand we have already defined as A bar plus CY. Substituting for AD in equation, in this previous equation, we have the equilibrium condition as Y is equal to A bar plus CY. Since we have Y on both sides, we can collect terms and get the expression for equilibrium income Y naught, which is equal to 1 by 1 minus C, where small c is marginal propensity to consume, into A bar or the autonomous investment. From the figure as well as from equation 19, we find that the position of the aggregate demand schedule is characterized by the slope of C and also the autonomous expenditure. If we go back to our diagram, we find that if either C given A bar or given C a rise in A bar will give us a higher level of income. What I tried to say in the earlier sentence, just the last sentence, is that if my A bar is constant, that is, this is constant, but marginal propensity to consume rises. Now, if marginal propensity to consume rises, it implies that the slope of this aggregate demand curve rises. This implies that it will be shifting like this. From A bar, we'll have a steeper curve. Now, at this steeper curve, will intersect the 45-degree line at a higher point, giving us a higher level of income. On the other hand, if we keep C constant, that is the slope constant, if we increase A bar, this aggregate demand curve will shift parallelly upward. This implies that we will get an equilibrium income which is higher. So given A bar, if we have a higher C, or given C, if we have a higher A, we will have a higher level of equilibrium income. Hope this is clear. Please respond someone, otherwise I fail to understand what is happening. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
I hope I am connected.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So this is what we have shown over, explained with the help of the diagram. Now we want to find how the income changes when autonomous investment, some part or the entire autonomous investment. We'll actually talk in terms of a part of the autonomous investment, be it G or I. If these change, how does the income change? This will be our objective a little while later. Now we try to say that this equilibrium can be obtained by equating both savings and investment. That is, we were equating Y to aggregate demand to get the equilibrium income. We can get the same equilibrium income if we equate savings to investment. That is, at equilibrium, what is happening? We'll try to find out. That is, here, what do we find? We find that this is our equilibrium income. Now we assume away that there is G or NX. That is, our autonomous expenditure comprises only of investment. That means that this vertical distance between consumption and this aggregate demand is just I. So our equation becomes y is equal to c plus I, and we know that the only two things that can be done with income is to either consume or save. So here at this equilibrium level of income, what do we find is that our income is comprised of consumption plus investment, since we have assumed away these two. But this is also equal to consumption plus savings. But what is this vertical distance? It is nothing but investment. So savings is equal to investment at equilibrium. So savings is equal to planned investment at equilibrium. If we take a level of output which is higher than Y naught, what do we find? We find that expenditure is this much or spending is this much, but income is more. So what do we do? What do we find here? We find savings is greater than investment, as a result of which output will fall towards Y0. On the other hand, if we are on the left hand side of the equilibrium income, we will have just the opposite case. I hope up till here it is clear. So we at equilibrium, we have aggregate output is equal to aggregate demand. Then savings is equal to investment. So we have come to the point where we know how to determine the equilibrium, and how through the reduction of say inventories or reduction of inventories, how producers increase production as a result of reduction of inventories, and how producers reduce production when inventories, stock of inventories pile up. So we have seen that the arrows in the diagram showed that output level Y, all arrows lead us to the output level Y0, at which current production exactly matches planned aggregate spending. Unintended inventory changes are therefore equal to 0. There is no change in inventory. Now we determine the equilibrium algebraically. Y is equal to AD, AD is equal to A bar plus CY, and we get the equation where Y0 is equal to 1 by 1 minus C A bar. So here we have already talked about how the changes in A bar and C can change our level of equilibrium income. We have also talked about the savings investment equality at equilibrium. Now we bring in the government and foreign trade in our analysis. Now income can be saved, paid in taxes. Firstly, it can be spent or saved, or paid in taxes. So we have already learnt about this, that is Y is equal to C plus savings plus taxes minus transfer. Complete aggregate demand will then become C plus I plus G plus NX. Therefore, C plus I plus G plus NX is equal to C plus S plus TA minus TR. Therefore, rearranging, we get investment is equal to savings plus TA minus TR minus G, which in a loose way can be thought of as government saving, because TA is the amount of taxes they are getting as revenue minus transfers minus government expenditures. That is the revenues they are getting minus what they are spending. And we are subtracting net exports from this. So, investment equals private savings plus government budget surplus. This is known as government budget surplus. It is obvious to you. Minus net exports, NX, or plus net imports. Now we move on to multiplier. This is a very important concept in our theory. Now, the question we can pose here is that if I increase autonomous spending by 1 rupee, by how much will the equilibrium income change? There appears to be a simple answer. Since in equilibrium, income equals aggregate demand, it would seem that a rupee increase in autonomous demand or spending should raise equilibrium income by 1 rupee. But this is absolutely wrong. We need to know why this is wrong. First, output is increased by 1 rupee to match the increased level of autonomous spending. Firstly, 1 rupee rise in autonomous spending. Then, output is increased by 1 rupee to match the increased level of autonomous spending. Now, this increase in output and income would in turn give rise to further induced spending as consumption rises, because the level of income has risen. Out of an additional rupee of income, a fraction C is consumed. Assume then that the production increases further to meet this induced expenditure, implies output and thus income increase by 1 plus C. That will still leave us with an excess demand, because the expansion in production and income by 1 plus C will give rise to further induced spending. This story goes on. Now, there must be an end to this story. We will first understand this more explicitly and then come to the final value of the multiplier. So what happens? First, increase in demand in the first round by delta A bar. This leads to the increase in production in this round by delta A bar. This in turn leads to increase in the income by delta A bar. This is the story of the first round. Now we move on to the second round. Now there is an increase in production of delta A bar. Out of this, there has been an equal increase in income. From that income, C proportion is consumed. So there is an increase in income of C into delta A bar. So that leads to increase in production of C into delta A bar. Now if we add the two rounds, what do we get? We in the first round, we had delta A bar. In the second round, we had C into delta A bar. If we add it, then total increase in income in both the rounds will be 1 plus C into delta A bar. This process will continue. For example, in the third round, what will happen? The demand will increase. There was an increase of production of and income of this amount in the second round. So demand will increase by C into C delta A bar. That is C squared delta A bar. Now this C squared delta A bar will lead to the increase in production of the amount C into delta A bar. Now total increase in income in all the rounds will be delta A bar plus C delta A bar plus C squared delta A bar. So we get this amount of total increase in income. This process will go on. We have to keep in mind that the marginal propensity to consume is less than 1. That means the increase in production in the first round is more than that of the second round, and is more second round one is more than that of the third round. That is, since the marginal propensity to consume C is less than 1, the term C squared is less than C implies induced expenditures in the third round are smaller than those in the second round. Similarly, the increase in expenditure in the fourth round will be lower than the increase in expenditure in the third round. Now, rewriting the successive rounds of increased spending, starting with the initial increase in autonomous demand, we obtained delta AD is equal to, we just go on adding the increase in expenditure of the successive rounds, and we get a geometric series here, and which can be summarized in this form: 1 by 1 minus C for the value of C less than 1. So delta AD, or change in autonomous expenditure, is equal to 1 by 1 minus C delta A bar is equal to delta Y0. The cumulative change in aggregate spending is equal to a multiple of increase in autonomous spending, just as we deduced from the earlier equation. So the multiple of 1 by 1 minus C is called the multiplier. So the multiplier is the amount by which equilibrium output changes when autonomous aggregate demand increases by 1 unit. The general definition of the multiplier is delta Y by delta A bar, which implies the change in equilibrium output when autonomous demand increases by 1 unit. When autonomous demand increases by 1 unit, by how much does equilibrium income change? By how much does income change? So this is what is meant by the multiplier. In the absence of the government sector and foreign trade, we define multiplier as alpha, where alpha is equal to 1 by 1 minus C. The multiplier equation shows that the larger the marginal propensity to consume, the larger is the value of the multiplier. This is because a high marginal propensity to consume implies a larger fraction of additional rupee of income will be consumed and thus added to aggregate demand, which implies a larger induced increase in demand. Now the question may be, why do we study the multiplier? The reason behind this is that we are developing an explanation of fluctuations in output. The multiplier suggests that output changes when autonomous spending, including investment, changes, and that the change in output can be larger than the change in autonomous spending. The multiplier is the formal way of describing a common sense idea. If the economy for some reason reduces investment spending, experiences a shock that reduces income, people whose income have gone down will spend less, thereby driving equilibrium income down further. The multiplier is therefore potentially part of the explanation of why output fluctuates. Now we try to find the diagrammatic derivation of the multiplier. Suppose we begin with income level Y0. Equilibrium is this much. My autonomous investment increases from A bar to A dash bar. That is, there is the marginal propensity to consume does not change, just the aggregate demand curve shifts vertically upward by the amount of the change in this expenditure, autonomous expenditure. Now, when this happens, there's a parallel shift. Now, we take any point to the right of Y0, say Y1, Y dash. What happens here? Here, we find that the demand is this much, Gy dash, whereas the output is Fy dash. So here, GF is the amount by which demand exceeds the output. So there will be a tendency of inventories to fall, as a result of which producers will increase output. This process will continue till we reach the new equilibrium point E dashed. At this equilibrium point, we have found that the aggregate demand AG, sorry, it's not written here. The aggregate demand is once again equal to total output or income Y naught dash, and there is no tendency of any movement away from the equilibrium. That is, there is no change taking place in the stock of inventories. So, as we have just seen from the diagram, initial equilibrium point is at E with an income Y0. Autonomous spending increases from A bar to A bar prime, implying a parallel shift of the aggregate demand schedule to A D dash. Implies at each level of income, aggregate demand is higher by delta AD, which is equal to A prime dash minus A bar, sorry, A bar dash minus A bar. Now, aggregate demand is greater than Y0. This leads to inventories running down, which further leads to firms expanding production to income levels, say Y dash. This induces induced expenditure leads to aggregate demand level to increase to AG. This leads to gap between aggregate demand and output is reduced to the vertical distance FG because the marginal propensity to consume is less than 1. With marginal propensity to consume less than unity, a sufficient expansion in output will restore the balance between aggregate demand and output. In figure 3, the new equilibrium, as we have just seen, is indicated by point E dash, and the corresponding level of income is Y0 dash. The change in income required is therefore delta Y0 is equal to Y0 dash minus Y0. The magnitude of income change required to restore equilibrium depends on two factors. One, the larger the increase in autonomous spending represented in figure 3 by the parallel shift in the demand curve schedule, the larger will be the income change. This we have done again, as said, repeated again and again, that larger the change in E, the larger will be the value of the multiplier. Secondly, the larger the marginal propensity to consume, that is, the steeper the aggregate demand schedule, the larger the income change. Hope it's clear to you. Hope it's clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The next day we will bring in the government sector and do the analysis of the multiplier.
Okay.